So, good afternoon, all the participants. Good afternoon. So, after lunch, today we have a very eminent. Are you able to hear me, Dr. Malvi?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
So, today afternoon we have a very eminent speaker, Dr. L.D. Malvi. He is associate professor in SGSITS Indore, one of the eminent researchers in the area of antenna technology. He did his PhD from IIT Roorkee and published a number of research papers in different journal conferences. And recently, I have seen his one of a very interesting webinar in IEEE Jodhpur section. He's a very good speaker, so I invite Dr. LD Malvi to make the presentation. Dr. Malvi.
Thank you so much, sir. Before starting with the presentation, I also thank my teacher, Professor S.R. Mansoori, sir. He is a professor in GCU Chain. And I am also able to watch here Professor S. Raghavan, sir. So, Raghavan, sir, you are welcome here. He is a professor in Trichy. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, I would like to thank also to Professor P.K. Singhal, sir, that he offered this opportunity to deliver this lecture. So, thank you, sir. I am starting with my presentation. So, I am entering in the full screen mode now and hope that everybody can listen to me very carefully, as well as the whole screen can be seen and that is not cutting from any other side. So, is it right, sir, that I am audible completely as the screens are completely visible?
Yes, sir. Please.
Yes. Thank you so much. So, as we are discussing about the next generation wireless 5G antenna technology, so we know that the world is moving towards the 5G because the 4G is unable to cope up with the increasing generation or the huge population of the mobile communication as well as the wireless communication. So that's why the next generation will have a very high impact of the 5G antennas. So today we are discussing the 5G antennas, different parts of the 5G antenna, and different previous things which show their inability or disability, that why they are unable to cope up with the current generation of the mobile users, right? So that's why I'm starting with the discussion. But before going to start the discussion, I'm paying my homage to my friend Dr. Anurag Srivastava, who died 2 years back due to the cancer. Right, he was along with me in the SGSITS Indore. So now let us start with the next generation communication technologies. As we are bounded with so many types of applications, so without those applications, our life is the thing. And you know that different applications are coming in the market, and they are very much helpful in every field of our life or every aspect of our life. So we may say that the coverage infrastructure is able to offer the voice, video, data, and required speed, as well as the on-demand services can be offered, on-demand bandwidth can be offered, right? So next generation of the wireless communication have the 5G, right? And why the 5G? Because we need the particular coverage, we need the fastest speed, right? So single user MIMO, multi-user MIMO are the requirement of the life, as well as the new technologies like the Li-Fi and the wireless sensor networks. These are also have a very strong candidature among the wireless communication, right? So jointly, these are used to provide intended coverage, bandwidth on demand, high data rates, 5G beamforming, multi-user MIMO, right? And these are in very huge demand. But the question is that this technology may have always advantages or certain disadvantages. So definitely some of the technologies may have the disadvantages also, because the Li-Fi is able to solve the problems of the traditional wireless communication, right? But it uses electromagnetic interference, radio frequency waves, and these are harmful for the biological and certain non-biological biological thing, right? So these are able to harm certain instruments, right? And that's why the Li-Fi is very good technology, but it's still very limited investment has been done in this technology, but it's still the problems can be solved and the life can take place of the traditional communication system. Similarly, the wireless sensor networks are the very big requirement in the automotive manufacturers, oil and gas sectors, right? So depending on the forecasting, their productivity may be increased. So WSN, wireless sensor networks, may come in market, right? Similarly, we have the 5G, right? So beamforming is going on, massive MIMO is going on, research and a huge investment on the beamforming and the massive MIMO is going on. So different companies are investing, like the Cisco, Huawei, Ericsson, Samsung, Nokia, Vodafone, even the Geo, Reliance, and others in the communication sectors, because of the huge opening of these wireless services, right? But the question is that how we can find those services in our practical life. So autonomous driving is taking place in the market. Location-based services are going on. Vehicle-to-vehicle communication is a requirement. Intelligence transportation systems are the requirement, as well as visible light is used in the systems, right? Similarly, if you look at the current scenario of the research, so anti-collision system is required both in the automotive sector as well as in the wireless communication. Now we have the machine-to-machine learning, machine-to-human interfacing, intelligence, artificial networks, machine learning, and these will come in the market, but all will require the very high data rate, right? On-demand data rate as well as the on-demand bandwidth. So research is again going on these fields. Similarly, the requirement of the frequency spectrum will be the very big thing in the coming future. Similarly, the virtual three-dimensional imaging is another present research scenario, right? So a big investment is going on these fields. Similarly, if you look at the requirement of these all the sectors or the research fields, so we have a need of the high gain, highly directive antennas, high data rate, more than 1 Gbps, large bandwidth is required, like the 1 gigahertz, 2 gigahertz, 3 gigahertz. High capacity is required, high signal to noise ratio is required, low latency is required, lightweight, highly compact, and high front to back lobe ratios are requirement, as well as the solution of the low mutual coupling is also required in case of the MIMO and the array antennas. So a strong existence in the wireless and portable world will taken place by the MIMO and array antennas. So selective substrates and the conductive metals are the very big requirements, because they'll provide us electrically and mechanically robust radiators. Even for the three-dimensional antennas, we have a strong role in the wireless communication. So I'm starting with the wireless communication now. So everybody is able to watch here a picture, and this wireless communication have the 4 parts. One is the line of sight communication, other one is from the reflection, third one is from the diffraction, and fourth one is the scattering. So we cannot say that always the line of sight communication will take place between the base station and the mobile station. So we have multiple rays, and through those rays, the strongest signal can be captured with the help of our mobile or with the help of the base station, and the communication will take place between the two end devices, right? So the question is that which type of technologies can help us, right? Line of sight communication will have single antennas, right? So always we cannot think about the line of sight communication, because there may be so many obstacles between the transmitter and the receiver, and that's why multiple antennas are required. So what's happening here, that the CISO, means the single input, single output, uses a single antenna, right? So because of the single antenna, line of sight communication can easily take place, right? But in non-line of sight communication, or in case of the multipath propagation, the system will fail. So that's why we have the MIMO, multiple input, multiple output system, which uses the multiple antennas as a transmitter as well as multiple antennas as a receiver. And in that case, we can find out the multiple paths, and the strongest signal can be captured by our mobile or by base station whenever the uplink or the downlink will take place. So if you look at these two technologies, single input, single output, and the MIMO, we find that 1 Gbps is a requirement, right, in so many of the services. But in case of the single antenna or in CISO, 250 megahertz is the minimum requirement of the bandwidth, and the spectral efficiency of the 4 bits per second per hertz. So if you multiply this, so we'll find the 1 Gbps of the data rate. But 250 megahertz is a very huge spectrum, very big spectrum that combines so many services, and that's why the 250 megahertz is just like the vestige of the big spectrum. So that's why the same thing can be done with the help of the MIMO antennas. So 20 megahertz means 10 times less than the bandwidth of the CISO is required in the MIMO antennas, and the very high value of the spectral efficiency can be used in case of the MIMO antennas. So 20 megahertz of the investment in the MIMO can show us the 1 Gbps of the data rate, right? If you look at another scenario of the patch antenna, single patch antennas or the CISO, so serial communication can be done in the CISO, and MIMO requires a parallel communication. So diversity and spectral multiplexing, these two techniques are used in the MIMO antenna. Similarly, if you look at the data rates, so data rates are limited in the CISO, and the MIMO has variable data rates as per the number of transmitting and receiving antennas. Now look at the capacity of the CISO is limited because this will work on the Shannon's theorem, right? So for the CISO, the bandwidth is given by B and SNR is given by the B. So if you want to increase the capacity of the CISO, definitely you have to increase a very high value of the SNR, then the capacity can be increased. Still, the variation in the capacity of the CISO is logarithmic, right? But if you look at the capacity of the MIMO, so that will depend on the number of streams, and number of stream means N cross N antenna, M cross N antenna. So number of stream is the product of the M cross N antennas in MIMO system. So capacity of the MIMO is N times of the CISO, where N is the number of spatial streams, and spatial streams is the product of number of antennas at the transmitter multiplied by the product of antennas at the receiver. So N is the product of transmitting antenna and the receiving antenna, right? So if you look at the capacity of the MIMO, so linear increase is seen here, and that's why if you look at another aspect of the CISO, that the capacity will depend on the SNR, and SNR will depend on the power, right? So huge power is required in case of the CISO to increase the capacity, whereas there is no extra power is required in case of the MIMO antennas, and SNR is limited in case of the CISO. MIMO has SNR dependent on the number of streams. So that's why the MIMO is a very good candidate for the present scenario, as well as in 5G, as well as in future technologies, right? So if we go through the other aspects of the CISO and the MIMO, we find that the spectral efficiency is limited in case of the CISO, that is 4 to 6 bits per second per hertz, right? Whereas in MIMO, this value will increase with increasing the number of transmitting and receiving antennas. Even the reuse plan will require 6 to 9 times of the link bandwidth in case of the CISO, and in MIMO, very easily this frequency reuse plan can be done, and the interference reduction can be done easily. So CISO will depend on the line of sight communication, and the MIMO will show the solution of the multipath propagation. So now if we move ahead, now the question is that the 4G is using the MIMO, but what is the limitation of the MIMO? Because number of users are increasing every day, and 4G is unable to cope up with the increasing mob, unable to cope up with the increasing mob and their requirements, their services, right? So that's why there must be certain solution given by the another technologies that is known as the 5G, 5th generation of the technology. And that is built on the IEEE 802.11 protocol itself, right? So 5G is aimed to provide 3 times of the data rate in comparison to the 4G, right? And can help us to find large coverage, low latency, etc. So 5G is a solution for the low mobility users as well as for the high mobility users. So no low mobility users may get the 50 Gbps of the data rate, and the high mobility users may get the 5 Gbps of the data rate, right? So if you look at the another aspects of the 5G antenna, so here the massive MIMO is nothing, that is a multi-user MIMO. up to the 4G, we have used a single user MIMO because there was no need of the large coverage in case of the 4G. So we use a single user MIMO. But in case of the 5G, because of the increasing mobile users, we always require multi user MIMO. So that is a massive MIMO. So massive MIMO has a solution of the increasing MOB, right? Higher efficiency, higher throughput. And we can say that in case of the particular coverage, we can use beamforming. So beamforming is also the part of the 5G technology. There is an easy reuse plan. There is a highly reduction in the interferences in case of the 5G. So we can use here the arrays because there is a need of the directional antennas as well as high value of the gain is required for the large coverage, for the large range, right? So array antennas as well as a phase array antennas are required in this field. And jointly, these are used to provide the solution of the multipath propagation, will solve the problem of both the transmitting and the receiving antennas, will provide the required bandwidth as well as the higher data rates can be obtained using the 5G. So now if you look at what are the services which will require the 5G or the higher data rates. So let us compare the previous technologies with the 5G, because in case of the first generation, 2.4 kilobits per second was data rate, and the analog service was used there. Okay, after that the 2G used so many services, digital, voice, and the simple data, and the data rate was increased up to the 64 kbps. If we move ahead, so we can find for the 3G that the 2 megabits per second, and so many services have been included in the 3G. Now 4G has a live television as well as content sharing, videos, and so many things were done in the 4G. So the data rate was enhanced up to the 1 Gbps, but still 4G was unable to cope up with the increasing mob of the mobile generations. And that's why the need of the 5G has arrived, because we have the online conferencing, online surgery, as well as so many smart things can be done with the help of the 4G. So real-time applications are covered in the 4G. Real-time applications are covered in the 5G, and that's why the 5G is able to provide us the data rate of more than 1 Gbps. Yes, so 5G was a project of 5G PPP. So 5G PPP is nothing. There is a 5G infrastructure public-private partnership project, and that was jointly working with the European Telecommunication Standard Institute, right, as well as different organizations are also involved in the 5G. So 5G is used to provide a smart home solutions and buildings, smart city solutions, 3D video conferencing, work and play in the cloud, remote medical services, virtual and augmented reality, and massive machine-to-machine communications for industry automation. Various quality of services, capabilities, traffic separation, resource reservation, and service-specific configurations are included in the 5G. So redundant transmission paths for the critical services are reserved in case of the 5G. And that's why we can think about that what should be the speed, what should be the latency, or what should be the mobility in the 5G. So International Telecommunication Union has set certain standard that the peak data rates for the uplink and the downlink, for the uplink 10 Gbps, for the downlink 20 Gbps, peak is actual efficiencies for downlink 30 bits per second per hertz, and for uplink 15 bits per second per hertz. Latencies are limited to 1 millisecond to 4 milliseconds in case of the users, and 10 milliseconds to 20 milliseconds for the control plan. Maximum bandwidth up to the 1 gigahertz is used for the 6 gigahertz frequency band. So minimum system bandwidth is at least 100 megahertz in case of the 5G, and the mobility up to 500 kilometer per hour in rural areas. So we may think about that. Yes, these are the standards which are useful, very capable in covering the whole mob, or the mobile generation, or the huge mobile generations coming in next years, right? So number of devices can be covered in 1 square mile is 1 million, right? So that is a very good thing here. And the factor that we want to analyze is energy, and definitely there is no big investment or big wastage of the energy So energy efficiency is 10% of the current consumption here. So LTE Advanced Pro is fundamental to the 5G network. Now, various frequency bands we can observe in different research papers. So there are two categories of the bands are shown here for the 5G frequency bands. One is FR1, which covers the lower frequency band, and another one is higher frequency band. So which includes the 24 gigahertz to even 65 and more than 65 gigahertz. But still, there is the collaboration is going on to cover previous generations in the 5G, so that interoperability can be maintained among the different frequency standards or generations. Okay, so if you look at the overall scenario here, how the 5G has a very strong candidature in the next generation. So we may look at the different services here. The self-driving cars are required here. Logistic is here. Tracking systems, inventory, toll collection systems, then smart homes, smart grids, as well as virtual reality gaming, smart watches. And we will look at so many things like the smart clocks are required here, cloud computing is required here. So 5G is in all the applications, right, which requires a low latency and a high data rates, right, because the downlink and the uplink must be done at a very fast rate so that the user can get the friendly environment with the fifth generation of the technology. Right. So this 5G cannot be completed without the array antennas. And if you look at the arrays, so we find that the arrays are nothing. These are the collection of the similar or the dissimilar type of the radiators or the patches, right, to show the strong directivity, high gain, and a high signal to noise ratio, right? So radiation patterns can be directional. In that case, narrow beams can be created to cover the particular directions. And it's possible if we reduce the interference in the backward direction or in unwanted direction and can concentrate the energy or the radiation in one direction only, right? So steering is possible using the arrays, and beam steering can also be done, right? Signal to interference and noise ratio can be maximized in this case. So broadcasting, beamforming, naval uses, optical phase arrays, radio frequency identification, weather research uses, miles guidance, and the fire radars have the very strong requirement of the antennas arrays. So antennas arrays will play a very big role in the 5G, right? So if you look at certain comparisons among the MIMO and the array, so active array resembles the shape of the MIMO advantages, and that's why we may think about the active arrays, right? So passive arrays use a single radio, but the phase shifters, attenuators, for the beam steering, linear patch can be used to enhance the beam width of array as compared to the single patch antenna. And if you look at the example that why the arrays are very useful, so look at the single page. This patch antenna array with 4 patch antennas produce 10 dB gain, while single page provides a 6 dB of the gain. So this is the beauty of the antenna arrays, right? So now let us start with some examples. My students have done these are the designs, so I'm including those other things here. So look at this picture here. The first antenna that we have stub matching here, right? So 50 ohm of the stub is used and it is matched with the quarter wavelength, right? So 6 patches, circular shaped patches with the inside feed are used here to produce a gain of the 12 dBi, right? So here we can find that the single page in this array step 1 is unable to show the very low value of the return loss, right? And if you look at the 6 patches, circular patches with the inside feed, so they are able to provide a very low value of the return loss. So that is one of the advantages. These are the antennas we have designed with the help of the 2s1 VSWR, means 89% of the power is radiated, 11% of the power is lost, right? And 2:1 VSWR. So with respect to that, we can find out the minus 10 dB of the return loss bandwidth, right? So we have done this design, communicated in one book chapter was published in Elsewhere. Okay, now look at another scenario that we can use the tapered array antennas, right? So if you look at these are the 4 steps here, we have the delay line here. Delay line plays a role of the phase shifter because the 5G have the very high requirement of the gain, directive radiation pattern, right? So the size will become very high, and that's why what we are doing here, we are using this delay line, right? So that will play the role of the phase shifter, as well as we have done the variation of the area of these other patches. So 4 patches are used in the step 2 here, and they have the a different dimension, right? Okay, step matching is used here. 50 ohm of the port is connected here, and the quarter wavelength section is connected here. That is the 70.7 ohms, right? So if you look at this one, this is the series FET array antenna in step 2, right? But our requirement is that the gain should be high as well as the bandwidth should be high. So what we have done, we have converted this in a step 3, right? So step 3 uses a power divider arm, right? So 1x2 power divider arm is used, and this has become the series cum parallel type of the connection, right? Okay, but our requirement was not fulfilled with the step 3, so we have gone through the step 4 and obtained the required bandwidth as well as the required gain. So this was the step 4, which was our final design, and this design showed us 17.9 dBi of the gain. And if you look at the radiation pattern, so definitely the radiation pattern was very close to the center, because if you look at the requirement of the antennas and if you compare the placement of the antenna in the mobile, so we must have the very high value of the front to back lobe ratio, because the back lobe ratio will enter in our body, radiation will enter in our body. So if you look at this pattern, definitely the high gain and the concentrated radiation beam is seen at the center, right? So you can expect that the low value of the back lobe can be in this design, right? Okay, so if you compare these all the 4 steps, you can find here that the 4 step is able to show the very low value of the return loss, right? And if you look at the step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, so you can find they have the limited bandwidth as well as the return losses are high, right? Okay, so we have around minus 50 dB of the return loss at the resonant frequency, 28 gigahertz of the resonant frequency, using the series and parallel tapered, right? You must have the question in your mind that what is the tapered array? Tapered means if the patches are having the variation in their length and the width, right? So by using such type of patches, you can find a tapered array antennas. So this is tapered array antenna, and series and the parallel combination are combined here to find out the large bandwidth and the high gain, right? So if you look at the radiation pattern here, definitely this is not at the center of the antenna. Right, so can we do certain corrections here in this design? Yes, definitely we can do here, because in step 3, we have 1x2 feed arm, right? And that feed arm is made up of the quarter wave section, 100 ohm lines, as well as a 50 ohm impedance. So if you look at another scenario here is step 4, so you have 1x2, then again, the 2 arms are divided in 2 arms. So this has become the 1x4 into 4, right? So total elements are 16 here. So 1x16 elements are here. Step 3 has the 1x8 elements. Step 2 has the 1x4, right? So because of this arrangement, we have fulfilled the requirement of the bandwidth and the gain at the 28 gigahertz. Now, another aim is to concentrate the radiation pattern, E-field pattern at the center, right? And for that, what we can do, we can go through the next design here. So if you look at another scenario here, what's happening here, that we have almost done the radiation pattern in center, so that the back lobe can be removed or can be reduced by a very big quantity. Right, so that was the aim of this design in example 3, right? Again, this is based on the series and parallel tapered array antenna. Yes, everybody knows the meaning of what is tapering here, but we have selected different type of patch arrangement here. So 1x4 patches are used in step 2, right? And you know that the chopping has been done here. Okay, inset feed are increased here in comparison to the previous design. So if you look at example 2 here, inset feed was done at the initial level, right? And in example 3, we have done the inset feed for the upper patches also, as well as we have combined the patches and chop them from the opposite corners. The question must be in your mind that what we are doing here, why we are chopping the antennas from their corners or from the opposite ends, right? So I'm able to give the answer of this question, that why we are doing the chopping, because if you look at this is step 2, right? So this is two upper side patches chopped from the opposite corners, and the reason is that this antenna was unable to move completely in the linear polarization or in circular polarization. That was moving in elliptical polarization. So one confirmed polarization must be done, either the circular polarization or the linear polarization. So by doing this chopping from the opposite corners, we have converted this in completely linear polarization, right? So if somebody is interested in converting this design in circular polarization, so he must know about axial ratio, because if you want to make a design of the circularly polarized antennas, that may be linearly that may be left-hand circular polarization or right-hand circular polarization. So you must have the axial ratio of less than 3. Then the design will be in the circularly polarized mode, right? So, and you must know that how the waves are moving, right, in left direction or right direction. So depending on that, you can find out the LSCP or RSCP, right? So finally, by doing this design, we have targeted the radiation pattern at the center. Yes, you are able to find this at the center here. So again, the back lobe is controlled here, but slight change in gain can be seen here, directivity can be seen here, right? Okay, and if you look at radiation efficiency or the total efficiency, so that is not affected in comparison to the design 2, right? So radiation efficiency and the total efficiency is not affected by a big factor here. Very small change can be done in the radiation efficiency, the total efficiency here, and we have obtained or cleared our target that the beam is now in the center, right? Okay. Similarly, if you look at this picture, that what was the effect on the return loss, right? So you can find here that yes, a very low value of the return loss can be obtained in the step 4, right, in comparison to the previous 3 steps. And yes, definitely we have the large bandwidth as well as a high gain, more than 17 dBi of the gain in both the designs we have obtained with the help of these 2 designs. Okay, so now the next candidate of the 5G is the MIMO antenna, right? But the question is that how the MIMO antennas can be used to find out the more gain. So that's why I did this design in 2016, and it was published in the PRC Journal, right? So what I did here, that I used asymmetric shaped slots to create a circularly polarized antennas, right? So that the moving users can be covered and the polarization mismatch can be limited in that case. But if you make the MIMO antennas, so port-to-port coupling is the biggest issue, because of the conducting ground, the port-to-port coupling will reduce, and mutual coupling will increase. So that's why we have done certain changes here in the ground plane. We have done the ground splitting as well as to control the mutual coupling between the 2 of the patches. We have made the slot here between the 2 patches, so that the element to element coupling can be reduced. So by using this, we have done the linearly left-hand circularly polarized antenna as well as right-hand circular polarized antenna. And you can find here that yes, the patterns are directional here, right? And you know that these are covering minus 10 dB and plus 10 dB of the direction, right? So my question is that why this discussion is important here, because the 5G requires beamforming, right? So MIMO is capable in doing the beamforming. So if you look at radiation patterns, these are not too sharp here, but still plus 10 dB and the minus 10 dB can be obtained here. So if you control the phase of this power divider arm, definitely you can convert them in plus 45 degree, minus 45 degree, as well as any direction you can cover, right? So MIMO is a strong candidature. MIMO is a strong candidature in case of the beamforming in the 5G, right? So arrays as well as MIMO are capable in doing the beamforming. Now look at the another design, right? So this design has a generalized structure here. And if you look at the meaning of this generalized structure here, so generalized means that we have a page that we have cut in circular form from both sides, right? So because of that, because of change in the radius of the cut, you can mean switch the band to any of the frequency, right? So that is the beauty of this generalized structure here. So if you look at the step 1, step 2, step 3, 4, 5, 6, but you can find here that up to the step 5, you have the single port here. In step 6, this is the MIMO, right? So array cum MIMO structure is here. And if you look at the return loss or the S parameter, you can find it all are resonating at the same frequency or around 28 gigahertz, right? So this was the beauty of this design, that the generalized structure we form here, right? And if you look at the return loss and the isolation of this array cum MIMO antenna. So you can find here that more than 30 dB of the isolation can be obtained in this design. Okay, because of the same values at the ports or same structure at different ports, we have obtained the same value of S11 equal S22 as well as S12 is equal S21, right? But the question is again that if you're not adjusting the phases, if you're not adjusting the phases here, so the radiation pattern cannot be directional, right? They will resonate at the same frequency, resonate at the same angle, right? So if you want to adjust the phases of these arms, right, in slide number 25, so definitely you can show the beamforming here, right? So presently this is not able to show the beamforming because both the ports, both the radiators are resonating at the same angle, right? So that's why the adjustment of the phases is required here in example 2 here on slide number 25, so that you can find out the plus minus 45 degree of the coverage of 2 direction or plus minus 10 degree of the coverage of 2 directions, right? So these are the designs which are showing the arrays as well as the array and the combination of array MIMO to make the highly directional gain patterns or highly directional directive patterns. Now come to the beamforming, that how these arrays and MIMO antennas or MIMO array antennas can show the coverage of the particular direction. So I'm skipping this because we have already covered so many things of this slide, right? So now look at this beamforming, at how the beamforming can be done and how this possible. So if you look at the conventional array, definitely the conventional array will have the omnidirectional radiation pattern, right? And that is not capable of covering a particular direction, but all the directions is covered with the help of the such type of conventional arrays, right? So if you look at the beamforming array, you can find here, yes, the main beam can be concentrated in a particular direction, and the side lobe levels as well as the back lobe levels can be controlled. So this is the beauty of the beamforming array antennas. Now look at that how the beamforming can be done. So in case of the MIMO, you've seen that we have to adjust phase. In case of the arrays, we have to adjust phase. So how the phase adjustment can be done here? So look at the introductory things about array antennas. That if you have a single radiating element, definitely its lobe is radiation pattern is very wide, right? If you have the two elements connected in series, right, and they are fed with the same phase, so definitely the main lobe can be concentrated in one direction, right, at a 0 degree, and a narrow beam can be created. Side lobe levels can also be seen here in this case. But if you are using more than 2 radiators, like the 4 radiators, and them with the same phase, so definitely the main lobe can be very big, narrow, but the side lobe levels can also be seen here. So if you look at these 3 figures, figure number 12 here, we are not doing any type of beamforming here. So how the beamforming can be done? So look at this another picture. If the 4 elements denoted by the yellow color here, right, if these 4 elements are fed with the same phase, 45-degree. So beam can be inclined towards the 45-degree and a single user may be covered here, right? So if the user is moving, definitely you have to change the angle. No solution, right? You have only single solution that you have to change the phase so that the beam can cover the moving user, right? And if you have the multiple users, like the 2 users are here, so the another solution is that instead of feeding all the 4 elements, let us feed the 2 elements by the 45-degree and another 2 elements by the minus 45 degrees. So 2 beams can be created in 2 different directions, and both the users can be covered by this plan. So this can be done with the help of the beamforming. So conventional arrays and the beamforming array antennas have the difference of the phase adjustment only. Okay. Various beamforming techniques are available. You can use any of the beamforming techniques. So which one is capable in enhancing the coverage in case of the 5G can be seen in the next slide. So we have analog, digital. The combination of these two can be shown in terms of the hybrid beamforming technique. Similarly, we have the switched beamforming, and the most important candidate of the switched beamforming is the Butler matrix, right? Similarly, we have the adaptive beamforming technique. So let's move ahead. The analog beamforming allows to send the same signal with different phases using multiple antennas. So what is the difference between the analog beamforming and the digital beamforming? The digital baseband designs different signals by controlling phase and amplitude for each antenna in case of the digital beamforming, whereas in analog allows to send the same signal with different phases using multiple antennas. So this is the difference between analog beamforming and the digital beamforming, right? So if you combine these two, okay, you can find out fixed digital beamforming, adaptive digital beamforming, and if you combine the analog beamforming and the digital beamforming, so definitely you have the higher data rates with low bit error rates, right? And cost-effective solution can be done, and this hybrid beamforming technique is a reliable and efficient technique for the 5G wireless networks. And you know that what is here, this will also enable the massive MIMO or multi-user MIMO. Massive MIMO is nothing, that is a multi-user MIMO, MU-MIMO. Okay, similarly, we have the switch beamforming technique. So in which the user is covered, right? That's why the switching is done here. Butler matrix is the main element here. Electronically, stand arrays are here, such as MIMO beamforming networks. And if adaptive beamforming is preferred, so definitely this is complex depending on the weights, depending on the number of incoming signals, right? And the desired outcome can be obtained after the optimization. So you have the sample matrix inversion technique here. Similarly, the weight vector are used. These weight vectors are nothing. These are a sample matrix inversion. Right, so weight vectors can be used sample by sample, and the weights can be adjusted so that the adaptive beamforming can be done. Right, now if we go through the different elements of the devices of the beamforming, so these are nothing, these are the microwave elements, and if you look at these all the elements, so lossless divider, which is unmatched at the port, right? That's why lossless divider is used here, right? So this is one of the element of the beamforming, as well as we have the lossy or resistive divider using the mesh port, right? So 50 ohm mesh port are used here, and the lossy resistive dividers can be used here, but the resistors are very prone to the losses, right? So this is one of the loss of the resistive power divider, and that's why these are known as lossy power dividers. Okay, similarly, the strongest candidate among these power dividers is the Wilkinson power divider. So this is used to provide a 3 dB of the amplitude and the phase at different output ports, right? So there's a combination of the 50 ohm line in the quarter wave section, or 70.7 ohm line and the 50 ohm line. So Wilkinson power divider is capable here to show the better solution in comparison to the resistive or the lossless power dividers. Okay, now, so I am skipping this slide. And if you look at another elements of the beamforming, so we have the hybrid couplers, right? So hybrid couplers are nothing. These are the combinations and in particular shape. so that 90-degree of the phase shifts can be provided at different ports, right? So 4 ports elements are here. Earlier used in the case of the 3 port power dividers, right? So Wilkinson power divider was also the 3 port, and the branch line coupler or the quadrature coupler or the 90-degree hybrid couplers. These are using the 50 ohm and the quarter wave sections, right? And particular phase is created here so that the 90-degree of the phase can be seen at the output ports. Now look at certain modification here. Phase inverter is used at a center here. So phase inverter is nothing but is also a quarter wave section, right? Okay, so many modification can be done to find the branch line couplers. Okay, delay lines can be created so that the particular phase can be used if impedance matching is not done properly. So stub matching can be used here, and the particular desired output can be taken at the output port number 2 and 3, right? So except these are the components. We have the another component of the beamforming, that is phase shifter, right? So depending on the shape, you can find out the phase shift, right? So if you combine the hybrid couplers and the phase shifter, so definitely you can find out here a crossover. Crossover is the most important part in the switching, switched beamforming or switching beamforming networks, right? So now let us combine these other things, right? These elements of the beamforming can be combined here. And if you look at this design, this is based on the Butler matrix. So we have designed this 4x4 Butler matrix, means having the hybrid coupler, phase shifter, the crossover, these are designed here, right? So we designed this Butler matrix for the 10 gigahertz application, right? And with the slight modification, you can show the coverage of the plus minus 45-degree directions as well, plus minus 10-degree direction at these 4 ports, right? If you want to increase the gain, so more number of patches can be connected here. If you want to change the phase, so the different direction can be covered, so you have to adjust the phase shifters here. Value of the phase shifters here, you can use the delay lines on this part, because the phase shifter is nothing, that is a part of the delay line by using the folding, like this is structure here, because the folding is done here in this part, right? So that the particular phase with the complex size can be done in the Butler matrix, right? So phase shifter can be adjusted for a particular phase here. And the delay lines, these lines also play a role of the delay lines. So by using folding, in the phase shifter, we can find out the desired phase, right? But don't forget that the optimization will take a very big time in such type of designs. Okay, now look at another scenario. We have used this design requires RF 35 TC. So if you look at the previous designs, so what we have done in previous design, we use either the FR4 for the lower frequency applications, and for the higher frequency application like the 28 gigahertz, we use the Rosers RT5880 Durai substrates of 0.035 mm thickness of the copper and 0.79 mm thickness of the dielectric substrate. So please remember these are the things here. So you have another design of 8x8 Butler matrix, and with the help of this 8x8 Butler matrix, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, these are the input ports, and 9 to 16, these are the output ports, right? So if you look at this design, what the authors have achieved, plus minus 22.5 degree, plus minus 67.5 degree, plus minus 112.5 degree, plus minus 167.5 degrees. So these beams were achieved in this direction with the help of these angles, right? So 8 different users or 8 different directions can be covered with the help of the 8x8 Butler matrix. But if you look at the previous scenario, so 4x4 Butler matrix is able to show the 4 beams in 4 different directions, and that's why plus minus 45 degree as well as plus minus 10 degree of the directions were covered with the help of the 4x4, right? So depending on your requirement, depending on the priority of the services, you can create a particular type of beam in a particular direction. So now let's move ahead and look at another scenario. So if you look at another scenario here, the tapered design has been done here. Stem matching is used here. Hybrid couplers are used here. Relay lines are used here. And by making this design was performed, right? So with the help of this, bandwidth was enhanced as well as the particular direction, only two direction, because this is a case of 2x2 Butler matrix, right? So two directions were covered. But if you look at this tapered arrangement, so tapered arrangement is always preferred when you want to increase the bandwidth. Now look at another scenario of the 60 gigahertz. So what is happening here? This is again a Butler matrix that requires the application of the hybrid couplers. Okay, hybrid coupler is here, as well as the crossover is here. Phase shifters are here, and the multiple patches are arranged here in tapered mode, right? Tapered, because they have different areas, different dimensions here. So that's why the taper arrangement is done here. So these all are series fade, but fade with the different phases. So that's why the four beams can be created in four different directions at the 60 gigahertz, but this is not the aim. So many applications are going on. Some of my students are working on the terahertz antenna designs and got a publication in IC journals as well as book chapters. They have got with their designs. Okay, now, so we have the beamforming array MIMO. This is using the two-port. If you look at the previous these designs, so these were working for the switch beamforming, switching for the beam switching. Right now, the MIMO can be formed, right, if you have a particular circular polarization or a linear polarization. So you can form here particular bandwidth you can create with the help of the dissimilar shaped patches or tapered patches, right, or the chopped patches, and particular polarization can be obtained with the help of these designs. So now we have so many types of softwares are available. There is no limitation here because every day the evolution is going on and you can find out so many types of softwares. Particularly, I'm working on the CST. My students are working on the CST. But if you think about the FICO or the HFSS or i3D, there is no problem because different emulators are used in them. Different approaches are used in them to solve the problem. To solve the designs, right? So you can use any type of software for the designing of 5G antennas as well as the terahertz antennas, right? MATLAB is solution. Phase array antenna system can be designed with the help of the MATLAB, right? So you can also use communication software or RF section of the MATLAB for the design of LTE, 5G, WLAN, WiMAX, right? And so many analysis you can do here. So thank you so much. If you want to find my research publication, please go through the ResearchGate. So I have uploaded the full copies of those other things there. And anytime you can download those copies. So thank you so much. If you have any queries, you can ask. So if you have any query, you can ask, please.
So, Dr. Liladhar, it's a very, very excellent and knowledgeable presentation. I think all the participants, if they have any query, please let me know. So, Dr. Liladhar is here. Or Dr. Liladhar, you please show your first slide so the participants can take a note of your email. If they have any query in future,
Yes,
they can communicate.
Yes, please. Okay, in the first slide, in the last slide, I have shown my email and the mobile numbers.
Okay. So, participants, please take a note of his email ID.
Hello, sir, Dr. Malviya.
Yes, please.
You have shown in one slide the list of commercial software. Can you just show for 1 minute? CST, FICO, like that you have shown.
Yes.
This is only very nice.
Any further query?
No, I just want to make a note of this.
Okay, please.
very-
Raghavan sir has written so many means good things here. So I want to read those things of the Raghavan sir. He has shown
No,
that
no,
he has.
really, it came as a feast. You have shown so many three-step branch line couple, so many things. I do not know how many appreciated. Anyway, I enjoyed.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, any further query, please?
So thank you, Dr. Leeladhar. We are very much grateful for excellent presentation, and
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much. So next, Dr. Bandra is here. Dr. Bandra,
Hello, sir, मैं करुणा.
Dr.
Vandana is not.
you please
Vandana is
carry
not
over the remaining session as chairperson.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Please.
So, sir, may I close my session?
Yeah, sure, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day to all.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, one and all present here. I, Dr. Karuna Markam, MITS Gwalior, welcomes you for the two-day National Virtual Conference on Next Generation Communication Technologies. I am the session chair for the technical session 2, along with Dr. Vijayashree Chaurasia from MANIT Bhopal. Hello, madam. Are you there? Vijayashree, madam, are you there?
Yes, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay, before starting the presentation, I would like to announce the name of all the participants who will present in this session. Mr. G. Bhupati Raja, Ms. Radhika G. Deshmukh, Ms. Deepti Gupta, Ms. Vijayashree Saraswat, Mr. Dipanshu Goel, and Mr. Kunal Kishore. Only 10 minutes will be provided to each participant. Please ready with your PPT and open in the background for time saving, and please maintain the limits. Okay, we will start with the technical session 2. Our first participant is Mr. G. Bhupati Raja. Are you there? His paper ID is ID 07. Mr. G. Bhupati, are you there? Hello. Hello, Mr. G. Bhupati is there?
Dr. Karuna, actually he had requested me in
Yes,
WhatsApp
ma'am.
message that he's not able to present his paper in this session. He's
Okay,
asking.
madam. Okay.
So kindly you can call the next participant.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Next participant is Miss Radhika.
Yeah, madam.
Miss,
I am present.
okay,
Yes.
your paper ID is ID 08 and title is Affordable Clean Energy Storing Technology. Okay, madam, please start presentation.
Yeah, within
Sir,
3 minutes I will
Vandana.
start. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Is it visible?
Yeah, it is perfectly visible. Please start.
May I start?
Yes, madam, please start.
I am Dr. Radhika Deshmukh. I am going to present here the topic affordable clean energy storing technologies. Good afternoon, one and all. With a population of 1.4 billion and one of the world's fastest growing major economies, India will be vital for future of global energy markets. India's achievements in the energy sector in recent years have been outstanding. India is implementing reform towards a secure, affordable, and sustainable energy system to power a robust economic growth. So, affordable clean energy means pollution-free energy, that is, energy obtained from renewable sources like solar, wind, or plants, and so on. But renewable energy used to obtain electricity, and these renewable sources also have some disadvantages. As they are intermittent energy sources, these problems can be overcome by implementing proper energy storage technologies, and therefore the topic I have chosen here is affordable clean energy. Now let's start the presentation. The abstract is here. The new environmentally friendly technologies are fundamental to attain sustainable development. Different initiatives are being taken to maintain and improve the quality of environment that might flourish on the new resource efficient and sustainable thinking society of the future affordable clean and green technology that is the attraction to researchers. In recent papers, as the energy crisis has intensified, energy storage has become a major focus of research in both industry and academia. The purpose of energy storage is to store energy effectively and deliver it for the future use. In the introductory part, the energy need in the industrialized world increase in line with the technology advances made during the industrialization. The demands of energy are increasing rapidly due to rise in population, economic development in developing countries, and enhancement in per capita consumption, change in lifestyle. Therefore, for balancing and matching the demand and supply, the storage of energy is necessary. These trends indicate that necessity for energy storage will increase with high production and demand. Consistent with estimates, requirements for storing energy will become triple of these values. A variety of energy storage systems are available, and the efficiency of system mainly depends upon the identification and implementation of right system. Based on the parameters such as storage, capacity, cost, reliability, size, and lifetime, and environmental impact. The energy storage technologies are classified into electrochemical energy storage, mechanical, chemical, and thermal storage. Here, the electrochemical energy storage, each of these technology has its own properties, and therefore electrochemical classified further into lithium ion, sodium sulfur, lead acid battery, redox flow. Mechanical further classified into compressed air energy storage, flywheel, pump hydro energy storage. And chemical having hydrogen fuel and methane. And thermal latent heat storage, thermochemical energy storage. In the present paper, we focus on different energy storages, technologies, and try to compare them. According to their efficiency, storage, then their power, and on this factor, we try to compare the different energy storage technologies in this paper. In the concluding part, the efficient storage of the produced energy can be improved by the implementation of proper energy storage system. Several energy storage systems are discussed in this article and review by comparing various technologies from the general characteristics of energy storage systems are discussed. It is observed that supercapacitor and SMES are the suitable for small scale energy storage application, and flywheels are suitable for large energy storage application. The compressed air energy storage and pump hydro energy storage are well suited for center energy storage due to their high energy storage capacity. The battery and hydrogen energy storage systems are ideal for disturbed energy storage. The battery and hydrogen are the best. At present, batteries are widely used long-term energy storage system due to its low maintenance and efficiency. But several research projects are under process for increasing the efficiency of hydrogen energy storage system for making hydrogen a promising future energy storage system, and the batteries and hydrogen fuels are used as a clean energy storage. The references are given here. Thank you. Yes.
Any questions?
Any
Thank you,
questions?
madam.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions from participants?
Madam Radhika Deshmukh, I would like to ask a few things. Basically, whatever number of things in terms of energy storage you have explained, among them, what you will rate as the most, or you can say most important need of current scenario in terms of energy storage?
The energy storage should be like this, which is pollution free, and
Okay.
hello, having a high
Yes,
storage,
yes.
high efficiency, and pollution free, and which is economically affordable to everyone.
No. This is what you are telling me, the requisites. I am
Yeah.
asking you the technology, that what is the most suitable technology and for what kind of appropriate application?
Hydrogen fuel and flywheels.
Okay, and how, in what application they are used in current scenario?
Regarding to, if we think about the affordable clean energy, then that's
Okay.
our beneficial. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Karuna, you can continue with further things.
Okay,
Thanks.
madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next participant is Ms. Deepti Gupta. Deepti Gupta, are you there? Deepti Gupta. Deepti Gupta is present or not?
Dr. Karuna, probably
Ji?
Dr. Deepti Gupta will not be available today. So if she comes tomorrow, then she will make presentation tomorrow. Okay. So you please
Okay,
put.
okay, sir. Okay, sir. So the next participant is Miss Vijayshri Saraswat. Vijayshri?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Start presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm presenting my presentation on smart cities. I'm Vijayshri Saraswat, author, and Kushagra Singh Parmar, co-author of this research paper, are BTech students of Madhav Institute of Technology, Science, Gwalior. Ma'am, I'm audible?
Yeah, Vijayshri, you are audible, but your slides, please come to the next slide.
Okay, ma'am.
Your slides are not visible, I think.
Okay, 1 second, ma'am. Ma'am, is it visible?
No, it is not visible, Vijayashree. Actually, it is not visible. Try.
1 second.
Vijayashree,
Yes, ma'am.
first open the slide, then share the window in your
Yes,
chat.
I did the same thing, ma'am. Just
Because
give me a
most of the
second.
time it happens, and when you share the screen, no, not the screen, share the window. Actually, PPT, open the PPT, then share the screen. Do it. It will happen. Stop presenting first. Then again, start presenting after opening the PPT.
Okay. Now it is visible?
Yeah. Now
Yes,
it is
it is
perfectly
visible now.
Okay, ma'am. So, moving towards the introduction part. The term smart cities, though new, is very much in vogue these days. Still, it is not very clear to many, so it is necessary to explore various facets required to make a city smart and create awareness among administration and people. The concept of smart cities originated in 2008. It was IBM which started working on this concept, and presently there are 10 world-known smart cities: Singapore, Dubai, Copenhagen, Boston, Amsterdam, New York, London, Barcelona, and Hong Kong. It has some smart cities like Ahmedabad, sorry, even India is not lagging behind. It has some smart cities like Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, Pune, and many more. These concepts has many challenges. Firstly, inefficient use of technology which comes in the form of its coverage and capacity. Second, hurdles in digital security required by administration, hurdles and citizens. Third, lack of initiative in framing and implementation of legislation and policies. Fourth, deplorable existing infrastructure for energy, water, and transportation system. Fifth, growing population. Last but not the least, lack of funding models. Solution for above mentioned challenges is currently 450 cities have adopted at least one smart city project, and project partners such as Cisco, Nokia, IBM, Huawei have their platform, and they are providing end-to-end solutions. It is a sound infrastructure which makes our city smart, and various facilities that can help in making infrastructure of cities sounds are: first, smart grids and meter. Installation of smart meters that records information such as consumption of electric energy, voltage level, current, and power factors wirelessly or via fixed wire connection such as PLC, power line, carrier. Second is ITS, Intelligent Transport System. It includes innovative services regarding different modes of transport and traffic management. Second, by coordination and smartening as use of transport network. It enables users to be well first informed about various mode of transport available to various destinations in cities, making their travel quick and safe. They will also be well informed about emergency services in many in an emergency. ITS requires modern techniques like enforcing traffic laws, signs, and that marks speed limit, CCTVs, MRT or LRT, and automobile navigation system. And smart home and healthcare. Smart home requires home automation system, which monitors and controls lighting, climate enlargement system, appliances, and also security. Security includes access control and alarm system connected with internet. And at the last, smart water and food. Smart water includes various techniques to reduce water consumption. Wastage of water emphasizes on water harvesting and stop water pollution. Smart food ensures health of people by tracking the food supply and transportation, and also by assuring quick warning in case of food security problem. And here's the conclusion. So the role of the smart city is to improve life quality of citizens. It strengthens and diversifies the economy without neglecting environmental sustainability. In smart city, there will be a smart technology to help in money saving, reducing carbon emission, and managing traffic laws. And about the future, we will say by 2050, nearly 70% of the population will be living in the cities. It meant that to accommodate the influx, nearly 500 new cities will be needed. Foremost needs will be the host of clean energy sources to power its cities. In smart cities of future, Wi-Fi and 5G should be ubiquitous to help IoT devices and smart infrastructure to work together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vijayashree. Please stop your presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions from participants? Okay, next, no questions. So we will move towards our next participant. Our next participant is Mr. Dipanshu Goel. Mr. Dipanshu Goel, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good
His
afternoon.
paper ID is, good afternoon. His paper ID is ID 11 and title is Circularly Polarized Patch Antenna for IoT Application. Okay, Dipanshu. Mr. Dipanshu, please start your presentation.
Ma'am, is my PPT visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm Dipanshu Goyal, presenting my paper on circular polarization. One second. On circular polarized patch antenna for IoT application. I have Ayush Gupta, Professor Sumanta Kundu, sir, and Professor Pramod Singhal, sir, as my co-authors. I represent my institution, Maharaja Agastyan Institute of Technology, Rohini Sector 22, New Delhi. Actually, I've kept my presentation concise so I can cover my main idea. This is my presentation's main highlight topics. You can check. Yeah. So antenna is defined as metallic device for radiating or receiving radio waves. As you can see, so this is the standard patch antenna. This is the first images, top view of antenna showing patch and ground plane. The adjoining figure is the side view showing patch, substrate. We have used FR4 for our substrate and ground plane. The last figure shows the electric field waves radiating from the patch. Yeah, so microstrip antenna is the most usable antenna in microwave frequencies. It has many advantages, such as it is lightweight, it is low cost, so we can afford. It is low profile, planar configuration, conformability. It has superior portability and easy for fabrication. So conformability is one of the most important and highly used advantage of microstrip antenna. We know that patch antenna can be conformed to any desirable shape we want. So what is IoT? As Dr. Rashmi Bhardwaj, ma'am, today's guest of honor, has already shed the light on Industrial Revolution 4.0, which includes the need of IoT. We have already seen all our insights. So IoT connects millions of devices and helps for mutual interaction. So why do we need antenna for IoT devices? As Dr. Musti Shastri sir, today's keynote speaker, already told us the importance of IoT. As we know, the incoming signal can be vertical polarized or horizontal polarized. So to detect them, we need to sync them. So we can use circular polarized antenna, which can rotate itself to support our IoT devices, which makes circular polarized antenna important in IoT devices. Circular polarization, yeah. So as all of you are familiar with the concept of circular polarization, it's the main concept. So it is actually resultant wave which rotates at a constant rate in a plane perpendicular to the direction of the wave. Circular polarization helps not to suffer signal loss between two circularly polarized antennas. Design. So I'm going to present the antenna design to follow your insights, to gather your insights. We have truncated the patch at the corners and circular slots at the diagonals in our ground plane. You can see we had considered many sizes, shapes, and positions of our truncated slots with the iteration of CST device. Now I'll show you my simulated results now. So as you can see, we have got minimum axial ratio of 0.18 decibel at 2.4 gigahertz with the axial bandwidth of 25 megahertz. Also, in the second figure, we can see we have minimum return loss of minus 28 dB with the return loss bandwidth of 104 megahertz. We have achieved up to 65% of efficiency. So here the gain we have is 3.59 dBIC, that is decibel for entropic circular polarized antenna. Also, our antenna has 150-degree axial ratio beam width at phi of 0 degrees, as you can see in the second figure, and also 149-degree axial ratio beam width at phi of 90 degrees. Yeah, so you can have a look at our result in a nutshell. I'm giving you 2 minutes to check our results. I hope you have gone through it. So thank you for your patience. We have concluded it. The above results and plots after simulations, it is concluded that the proposed design of a patch antenna is performing well to produce circular polarized wave. This also shows the versatility of microstrip patch antenna to be conformed about any surface for the use of IoT device. Yay! We have taken these references. The Nizamuddin Y.S. Ajwani has given us a lot of contribution, his book. Thank you. Now I'm open for your valuable queries. Thank you.
Thank you, Dipanshu.
Thank you.
Participants, please ask the question. Okay, no questions, I think. Okay, we will move up towards our next participant, that is Mr. Kunal Kishore.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Okay, are you present?
Yes, ma'am.
His paper ID is ID 12 and title is a CPW fed cup-shaped UWB antenna for the application of next generation communication system. Okay, Kunal, please start your presentation.
Ma'am, is my screen is visible?
Yeah, it is visible. Please start.
Okay, ma'am. So, good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Kunal Kishore from Maharaja Agrishen Institute of Technology, and I'm going to present my research paper that is all about CPW fed CubSep ultra wideband antenna, and our co-authors are Tarun Agrawal, Mr. S.K. Kundu sir, and Mr. P.K. Singhal sir. So first I will talk about the presentation overview. Firstly, we will talk about what is antenna, their working principle, and what is microstrip antenna, CPW, and then we will come to our research paper, that is what is CPW fed antenna and their result and analysis. So here we are talking about the next generation communication system. As we all know that the next generation communication system includes the speedy growth of 5G, wireless sensor networks, light fidelity communication, etc. So the ultra wideband technology is best suited for our required bandwidth coverage of multiple networks and frameworks for meeting the challenges in the cutting edge of future technology. So our first slide is what is antenna, and because we are dealing about the antenna design, so first we should know that what is antenna. So antenna is basically a transducer that transmit or receive electromagnetic waves. By transmitting a signal into radio waves, the antenna transform electric current into electromagnetic waves and vice versa by receiving. So now coming to the working principle of antenna. So a signal from a transmission line or the guided wave, that is like coaxial cables, etc., is given to the antenna, and which then convert the signal into electromagnetic energy, which is to be transmitted through the space. And the antenna can be both a transmission type and as well as the receiver side antenna. As we all know that antenna can be of various types, like we talk about the wire antenna, aperture antenna, reflector antenna, lens antenna. So microstrip antenna is also a kind of antenna which is used mostly in aircraft, spacecraft, satellite, and other communication purpose. So what is microstrip antenna? So a microstrip antenna consists of a metallic pattern on one side of a dielectric substrate and a ground plane on the other side of the substrate. As we are dealing here with the coplanar waveguides and ultra wideband in our paper, so first we will go through the coplanar waveguides. The coplanar waveguides is a planar transmission line, and it is widely used for microwave integrated circuit design. So a coplanar waveguide consists of a conductor strip at the middle, and two ground planes are located on the either side of the center conductor. And all this, the most important thing about the coplanar waveguide is all these things lie on the same plane. As we talk about the different antenna, we know that the ground plane is lie on the other side, and then after the substrate, and then after the patch. But coplanar waveguide is quite of different. Both the patch and the ground plane lie on the same plane. So in coplanar waveguide, EM energy is concentrated within the dielectric. So we talk about the coplanar waveguide, so we should know their advantages as well. So the first advantage is it has low dispersion. Second one is the simple realization due to etching on one side. And the third one is the broadband performance, as it does not need wire holes for SUT and series elements. Now coming to our paper, that is CPW fed CubSep ultra wide antenna. The frequency range that has been set by FCC. FCC is Federal Communication Commission, which has set the ultra wide range, that is 3.1 gigahertz to 10.6 gigahertz. So our initial design of the proposed CPW fetch antenna was designed at 2.4 gigahertz frequency range, and the dimension of the ground plane are 50 into 50, and width is something around 9.415 millimeter, and the gap dimension, which is G, which I will show you in the next slide about the diagram of our antenna, is 0.63 millimeter, and we, as a substrate, we are using FR4, which has got a dielectric constant of 4.4 and has a thickness of 1.6 millimeter. So this was our proposed design. The proposed design so that with the optimized width of the microstrip line, that is 2.42 millimeter in CPW FET, with 50 ohm characteristic impedance is shown in the figure given below. And there is a gap width of 0.63 mm between the ground plane and a radiator, and the given antenna is simulated on the given parameters. So we got a result. So result is all about the getting at the frequency of 2.4 gigahertz, and the maximum I would say gain that we have got is at 2.74 gigahertz. That comes out to be the 3.42 dB. And at 2.4 gigahertz, the gain comes out to be 3.34 gigahertz, 3.34 dB. But as we all know that we are talking here about the ultra wideband. So here we are dealing with 2.4 gigahertz of the range. That doesn't come under the ultra wide range. So we go through some of the approach to optimize the design. First approach that came up in our mind is to go through the circular hole in the ground plane, because I have seen many a time getting a circular holes in the ground plane can reach to the ultra wide range. So we cut four circular slices in the ground plane, and the optimized radius that comes after the design is around 11.5 millimeters. So this is the optimized design of our paper, and the below result indicate the impedance bandwidth of 8.89 gigahertz. So with the maximum gain at 3.2 gigahertz of the frequency. So the impedance bandwidth that we were calculating further was 2.4 gigahertz, but after getting some changes or some approximation in parameter, as well as the circular cut whose radius was around 11.4 millimeter, the bandwidth comes out to be 8.89 gigahertz, and the gain was maximum gain that came out to be 3.2 gigahertz of the range. So coming to the conclusion part, so in this paper, we talk about the next generation network. So for the next generation network, we are dealing with the ultra wide band antenna. So we have prepared a cup-shaped ground plane ultra wide antenna with CPW fed placed on FR4 substrate, whose range comes out to be between 1.92 to 10.81, and the best range was bandwidth was around 8.89 gigahertz. So these are the references of our paper. So yeah, thank you. Is there any query?
Okay, thank you, Kunal.
Thank you.
Yes, anyone, please ask question. Any questions from participants? Okay, there are six papers in this session, but only 5 were presented. Single, sir, shall we conclude this session?
Yeah, please, because some of the participants have requested me that due to working day, Saturday's working day in their institute, so they will make presentation tomorrow. So we can conclude today's program. So thank you very much for all the participants for joining today's program. And tomorrow at 10:30, we shall again assemble, and the link has already been given to all of you. There is another presentation link. So you join using that presentation link.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we will meet again tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. with an expert talk of Dr. Shehnaz Ayub from BIET Jhansi. And after that, we will start our next technical session, that is technical session 3. Okay. So thank you all. Thank you, Vijayashree madam. We will
Thank you very much, Karuna madam and Singhal sir, for inviting